Robert Fischer, March 9, 1943, January 17, 2008, was an American chess grandmaster and the 11th world chess champion. Qualifying for the 1972 World Championship, Fischer swept matches with Mark Taimanov and Bent Larsen by 6-0 scores. Fischer won the title match against Boris Spassky of the USSR in Reykjavík, Iceland. In 1975, Fischer refused to defend his title when an agreement could not be reached with FIDE, chess's international governing body, over the match conditions. Consequently, the Soviet challenger Anatoly Karpov was named world champion by default. Boris Spassky, born January 30, 1937, is a Russian chess grandmaster who was the 10th world chess champion, holding the title from 1969 to 1972. Spassky played 3 world championship matches. He lost to Tigran Petrosian in 1966, defeated Petrosian in 1969 to become world champion, then lost to Bobby Fischer in a famous match in 1972. Spassky immigrated to France in 1976, becoming a French citizen in 1978. He continued to compete in tournaments but was no longer a major contender for the world title. Spassky lost an unofficial rematch against Fischer in 1992. Robert Fischer playing as white versus Boris Spassky playing as black. World Chess Championship 1972, Round 6, Eco D59, Reykjavík, Iceland. This game was notable for 2 things. First, Fischer played the Queen's Gambit for the first time in his life in a serious game. Second, he played it to perfection, the game indeed casting doubt on Black's whole opening system. After this game, Spassky joined the audience in applauding Fischer's win. This astounded Fischer, who called his opponent a true sportsman.
C4.
This move came as a great surprise to all chess fans. Bobby Fischer almost exclusively played the move E4, which according to him was best by test. Despite his opponents having the chance to prepare against E4, Fischer had such a strong opening knowledge to play this move successfully. Before the match started, the Soviet team discussed if Fischer might play another move with white than E4. However, Spassky was confident to face D4 or C4.
E6. Knight F3. D5. D4.
Bobby Fischer plays the Queen's Gambit.
Knight F6. Knight C3. Bishop E7. Bishop G5. Short castle. E3. H6. Bishop H4. B6.
Spassky plays Tartakower defense, his favorite choice in many tournaments and a line with which he had never lost. However, Spassky walks right into Fischer's home preparation. Fischer's straightforward play guaranteed him a small but enduring advantage.
C takes D5.
At first glance, it seems more natural to play Bishop D3.
Knight takes D5. Bishop takes E7. Queen takes E7. Knight takes D5. E takes D5. Rook c1.
White has the half-open c-file and immediately makes it unattractive for black to play c5.
Bishop e6. Queen a4.
A good move by Fischer. The queen prevents the knight from b8 to be developed to an active square.
c5.
Spassky tries to counterattack in the center. Due to the fact that his king has already castled and White's king is still in the center, this seems to be a logical decision.
Queen a3.
Fischer exploits the pin against Black's queen on e7 and attacks the pawn on c5.
Rook c8. Bishop b5.
With bishop b5, Fischer actively encourages Black to weaken his queenside, and Spassky falls for the positional trap with a 6, creating a long-term target on a 6 for the light-squared bishop.
a6. D takes c5. B takes c5. Short castle.
We've reached a position with hanging pawns. Usually, the side with hanging pawns should place his pieces actively and try to advance the pawns at an appropriate moment. Here, however, Spassky's pieces are passively placed.
Rook a7. Bishop e2. Knight d7.
Spassky's overconfidence leads to knight d7 and allows Fischer's excellent maneuver beginning with knight d4. White ends up with a very good bishop versus a bad knight endgame.
Knight d4.
Again, Fischer uses the pin to improve the position of his pieces.
Queen f8. Knight takes e6. F takes e6.
At first glance, Fischer's decision to exchange the knight for the bishop seems counterintuitive. Usually, White should try to increase pressure on Black's hanging pawns. Now, Black's pawn on d5 is well defended and Black only has to care about the c5 pawn, which can be easily defended. However, Fischer has a strong positional idea in mind.
e4.
Fischer proceeds to bust open the position to exploit this advantage with a very strong sequence with e4, d4, f4, queen e7, e5, fixing the pawns on dark squares to emphasize the power of the light-squared bishop in a more open position.
d4.
If Black's move d take e4, with White's move queen g3. White is also better here. Black's pawn structure is damaged, and the bishop will prove to be better than the knight in this open position.
f4.
White advances his pawn majority on the king side.
Queen e7. e5.
Fischer fixes Black's e-pawn on a light square and takes away squares from the Black knight.
Rook b8. Bishop c4. King h8. Queen h3.
The queen switches to the king's side and puts additional pressure on Black's e6 pawn.
Knight f8. b3. a5. f5,
White opens a file to activate his rooks.
e takes f5, rook takes f5,
The F file will be the main route of the attack. The threat is rook f7, winning the queen for rook and bishop.
knight h7, rook cf1, queen d8, queen g3, rook e7, h4,
Restricting the knight on h7 even further.
rook bb7, e6,
The pressure mounts. All Spassky can do about it is to crouch in terror on the second rank. He cannot use White's last move to get in knight f6, because Bobby is just waiting to sacrifice the exchange at f6, thus fatally denuding the black king.
rook bc7, queen e5,
Bobby Fischer centralizes the queen. Black is completely dominated.
queen e8, a4,
White does not hurry. Black is deprived of active counterplay.
queen d8, rook 1 f2, queen e8, rook 2 f3, queen d8, bishop d3.
Fischer's last three moves did nothing but mark time. For what reason, I don't know, except perhaps to demonstrate sadistically that black is almost in zugzwang. The present move, however, threatens queen e4, to which there is no defense.
Queen e8, queen e4, knight f6, rook takes f6.
This sets the seal on the win, leaving only a few grisly details.
G takes f6, rook takes f6, king g8, bishop c4, king h8, queen f4.
Black resigns after the game was over. Spassky joined the audience in applauding Fischer's win. Fischer was surprised and called his opponent a true sportsman. Thank you for watching the video. Please like, share, and subscribe.